Alright, it's going to be the start of a little video series on my attempts at using photogrammetry to 3D scan the body parts for the 818. I'm going to be starting with something really simple. This is a piece that I trimmed out of the windshield surround to give myself access to the master cylinders so that I could refill them. I'm going to scan this and then 3D print a slightly bigger piece with some contours and maybe a little logo on it or something like that. Just, I don't know. I want to practice with the scanning and then modifying a 3D scan instead of trying to 3D model it from scratch. This is obviously just a little L bracket. I could model this fairly easily, but it does have a little bit of curve to it, but that wouldn't be too hard to handle. But I want to practice the scanning. So photogrammetry typically fails on car parts because they're flat and glossy and there's no way for the algorithms to really find a pattern. So my plan is to try and add a pattern. So the first thing I've done is I've scuffed this so that it's not glossy. Next, I'm going to use some masking tape to just put some random tape on it, maybe in some zigzags and Z's and T's or whatever on both sides. Then I will spray it with some gray primer, and then I'll pull the tape off, and I should be left with something that's got a nice pattern on it, isn't too glossy, and we will try to use photogrammetry to see if it can piece it together. So the other thing I'm going to have to do is find kind of a nice open spot. Now this is small enough I can probably just set up a folding white table, throw out a colored tablecloth on it, and get plenty of pictures of this and not have any problems. So that'll be fine for this. When I get ready to do something like a hood or a fender, not too sure what I might do. I've got a 10 by 20 pop-up canopy for going to the beach or having a picnic or whatever. With walls, I might use that. We'll figure that out when I get to a bigger piece. We'll see how much effect the surroundings have on doing a piece like this first. So fixing to get it masked up and taped, and once it dries and we peel the tape off, we'll take another little clip before we start taking a bunch of pictures. Alright, so I've got my little fiberglass piece that I cut out of the windshield surround that I'm going to try and 3D scan with photogrammetry. So I scuffed it up so that it wasn't glossy, and then I put some masking tape on it and spray bombed it with some flat gray primer, and then I pulled the masking tape off. And the whole theory behind that was, in case I didn't explain it before, is that photogrammetry works on pattern recognition, and so by putting these just random stripes on it, it should give it a lot of pattern and allow it to much more easily piece together the model. So I've just got it on this piece of brown cardboard right here as a base, and I want to see how that works, because my idea when I do bigger parts is to maybe use brown butcher's paper, kind of to give it a uniform background. So I'm going to snap about 25-30 pics right here, and then go upload it into the software. Maybe I'll do a little video inside on the software I'm using. I don't know exactly which one's going to work best. I'm probably going to experiment with a few of them, and we'll see how this turns out. So these are the results after I've done a little bit of cleaning on the photogrammetry scan of the master cylinder cover cut out on the windshield surround. I gotta say, it's really impressive. It actually captured half my garage. This was a little bitty, teeny tiny speck in the middle of the screen when I started, and I've deleted everything away. For this one, I used Autodesk's recap. I tried to use Meshroom, and I was having issues with it. I wanted to use Meshroom because it's free. Autodesk costs money. I will probably make another run at Meshroom when I have a little more time, but for now I paid for a month of the recap photo from Autodesk, which is the same people who make the Fusion. and I've gone through and I've cleaned up and deleted out the garage so that all I've got is the part left. So I'm fixing to try and import it into Fusion and see what it gives me for measurements and how it looks. I mean, obviously it came out pretty accurate there. It seems to have captured all the shapes, so we'll see what it looks like when I put it in Fusion. All right, next step in the 3D body scanning. This is the driver's side quarter panel. I took it out of the shed there. I sanded the entire thing down with 80 grit to knock off all the gloss. I put some masking tape on it to give it some markers and some pattern, and fixing to put a thin coat of gray primer on it, and then we're gonna take 150 photos of it and let the software do its magic and see what we come up with. I had to bring it inside to spray it. It was too windy outside, so I put the gray on. I've got the masking tape there. I haven't pulled it off yet. And then I looked at it and I realized, especially I think up in here where I've got the scoop, I didn't have enough patterning. I didn't have any tape in there, so I came back with some red primer and just drew some random scribbles on it. Should really help with the pattern making. I'm really interested to see how well the 3D model picks up the scoop here, the recess here, and interested to see if it'll maybe pick up this little void in the fiberglass. I mean, it got really detailed on that other piece I scanned, so have to see how it works out. So I'm gonna give it about 15 minutes to dry. I'm gonna peel the tape off, take it outside, and take 150 pictures. Alright, so the model for the scan of the driver's quarter panel just finished, and upon, this is what it initially came up as. Obviously it doesn't look like a whole lot, so I had to figure out what was going on, but you just got to kind of pan around. Well, what I found is it scans a whole lot more than you think it will. So there we go. That's my neighbor's roof and his chimney. And you can see the side of my house and a storage unit. All right, now look at that. This is it constructed this from the pictures. I mean, that's amazing. It caught the boards, the grass, the door. I mean, it's caught everything. It's really amazing what it can do. And it just kind of ran on its own. See, which button do I need to use to move? There we go. Yeah, it's kind of caught everything. So what I'm going to do now is go through and delete out the fence and the grass and the house and all that, so that all I've really got left is what's in the middle here, and then see how much we can clean it up. All right, and here is the best I could do with this scanned quarter panel. It actually looks a lot worse than I thought it would. It originally looked really amazing, I thought, when I was wrong button, when I'd first scanned it, but then when I actually turned off the colors and tried to look at it as an actual solid object, it looks like it's made out of mashed potatoes. If you've ever seen that movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where the guy's building things out of his mashed potatoes, that's what this reminds me of. It looks pretty darn terrible, to be honest. It is really, really lumpy. This here is where the scoop is supposed to be. Obviously it looks like a giant crater. All of this here should be smooth. And so I have taken this over to Fusion and tried to clean it up, and I've tried to clean it up with the tools here in Recap, and gotta say, I'm sure there's somebody who could do it, but I don't think my skills qualify me as that person. So I think I'm about to give up on this photogrammetry. By the way, I've been saying it wrong for the whole video. There's an extra R in there. It's grammetry, not gammetry, so photogrammetry. The only way I might be able to achieve better results is if I could get a giant empty box to scan inside of, so that it was really limited in the data that it could scan. I tried it inside in the garage, but I've still got, tools, and I've got a garage door, and it's got a rack and rollers and latches and handles, and the scanner just picks up all that stuff, and so I can't quite get it to focus in on the part I want it to focus in on, unless I were to, I don't know, maybe rent a storage unit that was completely empty and try to do a scan inside of that. But I think this is a little unrealistic for what I'm trying to do. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I certainly have some parts I need to 3D design and 3D print. And I was hoping to use this photogrammetry to give myself a starting point with, so that I know that I had things the right size and that the seams were going to tie in well together. So I may attempt to do that using some photos as a background, so that I can basically trace over them. I'll just have to see, because this is not going to work. So if I get another idea and I want to try something else on this, I'll post another video. But for now, this is dead.